The SA media said it, that before federal land revenue before 2 hours. Today, by special grace of God, through the assent of Mr. President, we are now Nigeria Revenue Service, which is expanded scope to also focus on non-tax collection, increase efficiency, and actually merge as a source, as the implementer of all other major tax that we have. For the basic benefits and questions and the real content of this law, I will yield shortly now to Mr. Taiwo to give you the rundown of what you are about to see and our implementation schedule, the timing and the way we want to do it, just to have something for the press. And after that, I think our people, supervisor here, will now tell us what they expect from us and going forward what we should do. So once again, I thank you. Thank Mr. President. So Mr. Taiwo.
Thank you very much, my brother, and then good afternoon, everyone. To our leaders and the lawmakers here, thank you for the hard work. I think I just want to reemphasize the importance of the leadership that Mr. President himself provided for this reform. I don't think there's anyone in Nigeria that will disagree with that. We always talk about political will. This is the actual demonstration of political will. Even when it became so heated, there were people calling names, it became politically risky for even Mr. President, because it took a different dimension from regional issues to religious issues. And those things are things Nigerians are sensitive about. An average leader would have just backed down. He kept encouraging us to say, let's keep doing it. It's the right thing. I do not take that for granted, and I thought I should put it on record. And I've said a couple of times, Mr. President did not dictate anything to us. He allowed us to do our work professionally, only asking us questions and providing guidance. I think that's a very important example of how to provide leadership. Another thing that Mr. President did, which is extremely important, was to say he wasn't looking for a committee that will advise and take photos and walk away. He said we have to stay the course and support the government to implement. And anytime I think about it and I look back, I say, imagine we had submitted a report that says we write Nigerian laws and we took photos and left. When it became very controversial, how would we have been able to deal with it? I think this model should be replicated for subsequent reforms because it has worked. Having said that, today is a very important day in the life of our country and by extension in the life of our people. Nothing of this magnitude has been done in the history of Nigeria, pre or post-independence. Today is the day that very holistic reform that we have been asking for, some of us have been practicing as professionals for more than 2 decades. And we seem to be speaking to ourselves, or nobody was listening. It became very frustrating. We see the potential of the country and what was possible, but we're being held down by laws that were anti-businesses, that were counterproductive all over the place. And having the courage to bring all of it together and put that reform through at this time is truly, truly commendable. And I'd like to say congratulations to all Nigerians. Now, these reforms are not about raising more taxes. I think people get it wrong. A lot of people, including analysts and commentators, will say, oh, where are they going to get the more taxes from? Nigerians are poor. This is exactly trying to relieve people of the burden of taxes. These tax laws, they are now laws, are pro-poor in particular. More than 1/3 of workers in both the private and public sector will now be exempted completely from PAYE. They will not have to pay personal income tax. Small businesses, over 90% of small and micro nano businesses will no longer have to worry about paying corporate income tax or charging VAT or even deducting withholding tax or paying PAYE for their employees. What this means is that there will be more money in the hands of the ordinary Nigerian to take care of their daily needs. In addition to that, these laws also provide what we call zero rate of VAT on essential consumption. What does it mean? It means any traces of VAT in food, in education, in medical and health care is now removed completely. So we should see prices of those items come down. In addition to that, transportation, accommodation and housing is exempt from VAT. Our analysis, which was very clear, is that these items collectively account for more than 80% of where Nigerians spend their money. That's a huge relief for them. We also have provisions in those laws to help us improve efficiency. Efficiency in how we collect taxes, and also efficiency in the transparency of reporting the taxes we collect, which we expect should then be linked to how those taxes are utilized for the purpose of the people. This is really revisiting the social contract between the government and the people. In addition to that, these laws will promote Nigeria in terms of competitiveness. It's harmonizing the taxes that companies have to pay, reducing the burden of those taxes, and removing distortionary tax waivers and incentives. Because what has been happening is that if you are a very honest person doing your legitimate business and you don't know anyone, you will struggle because your colleague or your competitor who is well connected gets all manners of waivers that you don't have access to. That has been taken care of. There is now transparent incentive regime, reducing discretion and subjectivity, and it's available to anyone once the conditions are met. We also have provisions that speak to wasteful incentive generally, including how do we address tax evasion. This is another very important point. If you have two people doing business, one person is paying their taxes correctly and honestly, the other person is evading their taxes and paying bribe wherever they can find anyone. What we are essentially doing is we are incentivizing the tax evader and we are discouraging the compliant taxpayer. That is not a sustainable way of building a society. These tax laws also address that because it's going to make tax evasion now more expensive while simplifying voluntary compliance. This is how we can build a society we can all be proud of. Of course, if you allow me to continue, there are a lot of other issues that I'm excited to start talking about them. But I think what is most important is to remind ourselves that why this event of today is so important, the journey is just beginning. Writing the law, no matter how beautiful, no matter how transformative, no matter how innovative, means nothing if it is not properly implemented. So we are mindful of that. We are not going to relax. Mr. President has given us the charge that now is the time to move to implementation. And we are ready. We are prepared. It is not something we can do alone, even from the government side. It is something we have to do collectively. Private sector, public sector, civil society, professional bodies, tax consultants, everyone, including our international partners who mean well for Nigeria. This is the time to implement with sincerity, laser focus, and with purpose, so that when we look back in another 1 or 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, we'll say, yes, we came together as a people and did the right thing for our country. May God bless Nigeria.
Amen. Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you very much. I think I will use this opportunity to extend the nation's appreciation to Mr. President for having the courage to first think of the amendments that he brought and also putting those bills as they are and bringing them to the National Assembly. When he brought these bills to the National Assembly, we know the uproars that those bills attracted all over the country, especially in the northern part of the country. And we looked at those bills carefully. We had stakeholders consultations. even with those that were really kicking against these bills, we sat with them, we listened to them, we took what they brought, and we also gave them what we think about as a nation, so that this country can get something out of what we have done. And I believe that with the consultations and the painstaking nature of the legislative processes that we've taken, I believe we are brought out bills that seek the aspirations of Nigerians. And what are those aspirations? Just as has been highlighted by the chairman of the Presidential Task Force. We consider the less privileged in terms of earnings and see that we don't add burdens on them. You will also recall that in this country, sometimes we have more than about 72 or 3 different kind of taxes. And all those taxes have been harmonized right from local government, states, and the national. And also, we did not just relent there. We looked at the bills as they brought them on how it will affect the oil and gas industry. We also look at how the export processing zones operate, especially where it will add comparative advantage to our local industrialists. So I think it's good for all Nigerians to look at what we have presented. And you know, laws are not static. Laws continuously are made to be amended, just as nature, as we are, we change every day. So also, whenever there is need for us to do any amendment to those bills, for the good interest of this country, I'm sure the National Assembly will do that. With this, I want to also extend the appreciation and the kind of cooperation we have right from the committee, the Presidential Committee, the FIRS, and even the presidency in terms of not interfering with what we were doing. We were given free hand and we did this thing painstakingly to the benefit of all Nigerians. And over time with the implementation, we will continue to do our constitutional role of oversighting the agencies to see that they are doing the right thing. And anywhere we also find out that the laws or the laws that have been signed have any defects, we are there to make an amendment. With this, I think I will congratulate all Nigerians. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen of the press. First, we can't thank Mr. President enough. I also want to join appreciating him for taking some of these bold decisions. Recollect that since he took over, he has taken 2 bold decisions. One, removal of subsidy, and this tax reform. When the tax reform was brought in the House, it was like a mission impossible. And but we thank God with the cooperation of all Nigerians, including the governors. And of course, particularly from the House of Rep, I want to express appreciation to Mr. Speaker for allowing us to take our time to do the needful. I think that when the subsidy was removed, the Nigerians who felt the pain, we also realized that the subnationals, the states and the local governments, are now getting triple of what they used to get. I want to also say boldly that with this tax reform, which has no bearing with increase in taxes, it's just covering more loopholes and taxpayers. And then, of course, giving Nigerian Revenue Service the capacity to use software, ICT, and all, so that all of us will be in the tax net, majority of us, rather than so that we can have our GDP to tax to be higher than what it is now. For me, I think that at the end of the day, by next year, when this thing starts to roll in, the subnationals again should be expecting an increase in their monthly revenue, which we know that it should be to the benefits of Nigerians at their various homes in local governments. All we can say is to say thank Nigerians, especially the media, for also giving us the coverage that it deserved during this process that we went through. It took us over 10 months to get to where we are. and I'm sure Nigerians will be better for it. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. Please, we'll take, because of 2 questions. Lasisi. I've called Lasisi. Anyone else? The ladies aren't asking any question today? Answered. Lasisi. Let's. Yeah, please. I take note of the fact that you said no questions, because very clearly the controversies are behind us. But since Lasisi wants to ask a question, we can take his question and then wrap up for the afternoon. Thank you.
Based on best practices globally, because when you have this kind of change, it takes time for all the stakeholder, participants, operators, and even the regulator to change the system. So with the magnanimity of the National Assembly, Mr. President, so the effective date will be January 1st, 2026 by the special grace of Almighty God. So we have full 6 months for both sensitization, planning, and also considering the fiscal year of the government. Because when you have this kind of change, it's not what you do mid-year, because if the application of law is better you start from the beginning of the year. So effective dates, by God's grace, will be 1st of January 2026. Thank you.
You're watching TVC News, and here we're bringing you a live feed from the nation's capital, Abuja, following where in the last hour, President Bola Tinubu signed 4 major tax reform bills into law. These bills were passed by the National Assembly after wide consultations with stakeholders and key industry players. And live there on the television was when the President Bola Tinubu was signing the bills into law. He's surrounded there by key players, including chairman of the FRS, which now has a new name, Zaka Dedeji, heads of the Committee on Finance for both the Senate and the House of Representatives, including other key players who witnessed that historic moment where these bills, which have been in discussion since September 2024, have finally been assented to by the president and have now become law. And just a moment ago, some of those key players gathered to brief the press about the journey that culminated in what we are experiencing today. And they have said that this is really a good time for Nigeria. They appreciated the president and equally appreciated the Nigerians for the opportunity to work on these bills, which have now become law. And just like has been mentioned, this bill will become effective 1st of January 2026. 1st of January 2026. Some of those in attendance when that press briefing happened included Zaka Dedeji, Taiwo Oyedele, who headed the Presidential Committee on the tax reforms. We also had Sunday Dare, who is essay on public communication to the president. We had James Falike, who is chairman House of Reps Committee on Finance. We also had Obasani, who is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Finance. They were briefing the press about the progress made so far and the impact of these 4 tax reform bills, which have just become law following the assent by Mr. President. And looking at some of the highlights of what they actually discussed, Mr. Adedeji there mentioned the fact that this is actually a dream come true. He appreciated the Senate and House of Representatives, that the National Assembly now, for the efforts they made to see that this is a reality. And then, of course, mentioned that with the reforms, FRS will no longer just serve tax purposes, but now it's also focused on non-tax collection. And of course, also then we went to Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, who spoke about the fact that the president did not really force the team to do anything. He simply asked questions about progress made so far, and he got feedback from them. And he is of the view that this model is something that should actually be embraced and replicated for subsequent reforms in the country. And then he mentioned that nothing of this magnitude has been done in the history